VMO TCUK, powered by VCO, returns after a 4-week break and hits the ex-airfield in the east of England that we know as Snetterton. It's one of the most technical circuits in the country and it hosts round 2 of the season. Of course, a couple of weeks ago, Brands Indy had to be postponed due to technical difficulties, which we should be getting back on the calendar a bit later in the year. But for now, we move to the new round 2 here at Snetterton, and it's going to be a very interesting race this evening. Myself, Cameron Roger, and Zach Sweeney will be bringing you through the action today. Zach, your first time here in the Combox this season. Are you looking forward to this one?
Of course I am. I absolutely love touring cars, and I absolutely love Snetterton as well. It's a very, very nice combination to sort of see me into the series. And Snetterton, obviously it's my local track. I've got a little bit of bias in that regard, but it's so technical. It's so good for racing, and I'm looking forward to seeing these touring cars huddle around it.
Yeah, it's so sad that we missed out on the action 2 weeks ago, because we had a great first race of the season. Matt Richards came out absolutely swinging. It was John Munro who got that pole position back at Donington, but it was Richards in the end who took 2 victories there out of the 3 races. Of course, we have the 3-race format. We got the weight ballast in. We got the new hybrid in these BTCC cars here on R Factor 2, and it really should be a load of action. We had a few changes from the first race as well. One of the biggest ones, I would say, is that we had a new car being added into the lineup. Within R Factor 2, we had the Cupra be released, and all the teams were given the opportunity to do this, and it was Quartermass Motorsports on your left hand side there, Max Spooner and Adam Locke in the sort of turquoisey cars. They moved from that Ford Focus into the Cupra, and Zach, because of that, they had to go back to 0 championship points, but maybe they just feel a little bit more comfortable in the Cupra.
Yeah, I mean, after only 1 round in the season, you know, if you can swap to a car that you're going to be more comfortable in, the overall season is going to be better off you. Yes, you take the toll and reset back to 0, but over the rest of the season, if you're more comfortable in it, you can then extract more potential out of the car and overall maybe score more points than you would have, say, if you stuck with the Ford Focus. No one else, though, deciding to swap their choice, so everyone's seeming fairly comfortable with what they've gone for and maybe not willing to drop down to 0, because in a grid as competitive as this, some people maybe are trying to weigh up the fact that they can't really afford those points lost.
Yeah, and here are your teams on the page, and we've certainly had a couple of changes as well. So the bottom right there, you got the Carl Benton for the team KRB. He's also, I believe, moved actually to RSR. So RSR have got a 3rd car on the grid as well. So definitely a few changes already happening up and down the field. Of course, we've got some independent entries there as well. We've got Dave Carr-Smith. He's also being replaced this race. We got Jan Voznitzer for Netrex. He wasn't there present in round 1, but he's coming back to race this time. So there's loads of things already happening just a couple of races in, and I'm really excited to see how that is going to sort of level the playing field a little bit with some unknowns coming into this second round of the season.
Yeah, indeed. So plenty of things to talk about as we come into Snetterton. Obviously, with the championship ballast being added for race 1, it is going to throw a spanner into the works, promote new people maybe to rise up the order and spice things up towards the front. That's what I love about touring cars. That's what I love about formats like these, is it's always so welcoming for everyone really to sort of have a go and be competitive. And I think at each and every single one of these circuits, we're going to be in for a good one.
So here's your updated schedule with the way that things have panned out. We had Donington back on the 17th of May, and 4 weeks later, we are here for the Snetterton 300 on the 14th of June. We'll work our way through, of course, all of the tracks that you will know from the BTCC calendar. We got Thruxton, Oulton Park Island. Then we go back to Brands Indy, rescheduled there on the 2nd of August before we go to the second half of the season. We have Croft, Knockhill, Donington Park going back there for the full GP track. Of course, Silverstone National, the shorter variant of that before, as ever, the season finale at the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch, which, as ever, Zach, is always a nice one to actually use the full GP track. It's not always used there at Brands Hatch, and yeah, a great way to finish off the season.
Yeah, absolutely. With each step throughout the season, I think we go to a brilliant circuit. I mean, you're not lacking choice at all when it comes to UK circuits. So yeah, plenty of good choices and plenty of action left to divulge in that Brands Hatch GP. I do love the full layout. I like the Indy layout as well, but I feel like it is a little bit on the shorter side. Going to the Grand Prix layout, there's more corners obviously, and maybe a bit more fun. I prefer driving the GP layout than I do the Indy. So yeah, be definitely a good one to round off the season, and hopefully we've got some some pretty spicy championship standings to divulge in by the time we get there. But we're only on round 2, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves just yet.
But mentioning the championship is a good thing. As ever, we have the 3 races over the evening. We have the weight ballast that comes in. Of course, for race 1, it goes off the championship standings. And for race 2 and 3, it uses the previous race result for the top 10s to get the ballast. And we were just mentioning this before we came on air, Zach. 75 kilos for the number 1, the first position. That is a lot of weight. And we definitely saw it last time out at Brands Indy, where we got the sort of the failed qualifying session that we never got to use, unfortunately. And the championship leader Matt Richards on that day, he was struggling a bit with the weight ballast, and again it looked like he was in the qualifying session behind the scenes that we're just going to show you very shortly as well. So I definitely think that weight ballast is going to be the bigger factor over the season, and how you manage that, and the sort of the tyre wear that comes into the races as well.
Indeed so, and I think it is going to take quite a big precedence at Snetterton. It's one of the circuits on the longer side. I think it is the longest circuit that we take to over the course of the season, at least one of. And, it's got a lot of stop-starts, a lot of, changes of direction, that long Bentley straight as well to factor in. And that is all things that those 75 kilograms are going to then exaggerate your pace deficit. Did have a look at the sort of the times being set in practice and in qualifying more specifically. Dan Kell was sort of one of the drivers towards the front end, and Matt Richards was about 1.5 seconds off towards the back end of qualifying. So very clearly a huge deficit shown from that 75 kilos. And that's going to be something that Matt Richards is going to have to, factor into his sort of his race mentality. How does he race in each of the races? Obviously, once he gets race 1 in the books, it'll be then the ballast reset for race 2, and then obviously race 3. So Matt Richards, I think his focus is going to be hanker down, limit the damage in race 1, then show what you can do in race 2 and 3.
Yeah, and we have 12 lap races here this evening. All 3 races will be 12 laps. And as you say, if you're like 1.5 seconds off, that is a lot by the end of it. I mean, that's getting close to sort of, it was about 18 seconds or so. You're going to be off the race lead just on that pace, if that is obviously part of the reason. So that's going to be, quite an interesting factor, especially for Dan Kell coming in. He missed that first race of the season. So he, of course, comes in with 0 championship points. Therefore, he has 0 ballast, and he can really, just enjoy the, at least while it lasts, because we're assuming he's going to get up the standings, but while it lasts, he can enjoy that lighter car that he's going to get for this first race. So we just come into the warm-up session, so qualifying is done. We'll just get you results of that in a moment's time. But in the warm-up session, this is the final chance for the drivers. Oh, as Jack Nicholls there goes way too wide. He's going to be in the wall, and hopefully we don't see that, and that is why this is the warm-up session. So when we get to the race, they would have hopefully learned not to do that.
Yeah, it does help not smacking into barriers and things. That's kind of what you need to do if you want to win races. But yeah, it's the best time to do it. Obviously, get all your mistakes out, feel fresh and ready to go in for race 1, because that is really where the pressure starts to mount up. That obviously goes without saying. That's where if you do make a mistake, it's going to count a lot more. So maybe just try and push the limits. If you're a little bit iffy about a corner, think, okay, well, now I'm in warm-up, I'll just push the limits a little bit. I'll see what I can do, what the car can take, what I can take as well. And then if you overstep the mark, in a race, not to do that. So yeah, it's a sort of a good final go for these drivers, just to stay in the rhythm, keep that adrenaline flowing, because the last thing you want between qualifying and the race is that adrenaline to plummet straight down, and then once you're on the grid for race 1, for them to then spike back up again. So it's a good way to sort of keep things flowing and keep you honest, ready to go as well. That was quite interesting there from Chagwin.
Yeah, he's also starting push as Scott Mitchell Marm also goes off down there in the Montreal hairpin. So definitely the drivers are on the limit here around Snetterton, which just shows you when you, of course, it's 4 weeks since we had the racing action here for TCUK 2023. So, of course, the drivers are ever ready to get themselves on the grid and see what they can do. It's a decent long run down into Richards, the first corner here at Snetterton. I wonder, Zach, though, if they're just going to try and wait for that corner and maybe have a dive down to Montreal hairpin once we get to that first lap of the race.
Yeah, I would probably say that's probably their best bet, unless of course they get a really good start. Obviously the rear wheel drive focused cars will be a little bit better off the line, a little bit more punchy, so maybe look out for them to have a bit of a look into Richards, but don't expect any major sends. It will be that first braking zone at Montreal that will see things sort of go for moves in those opening laps. But it'll be interesting to see how aggressive people are in those opening moments. Do they want to hit the ground running and send moves, or do they want to be more on the cautious side? It'll be one that, well, I'm sure all our questions will be answered very shortly.
And this is also a slightly awkward track in the way that it works, because you obviously get that fast flowing turn 1, you get the hairpin of turn 2. Then as you get through that second sector, you've got all those tricky, tight little corners where it's always a little bit harder to find your position as the drivers are getting onto the grid. And we'll, of course, get the order. Here is Dan Kell on pole position with Ryan Elliott alongside him. Jack Nichols and Luke Mitchell there with the Kings Racing on the second row. That is a really good lockout for them. We've got Thomas O'Leary, Cam Brewster following in behind, Cripps and Munro, your pole position winner from round 1, only down in P8 today, and Brewster also winning a race here last year. Scott Mitchell and Matthew Churgwig there, who's coming in as a reserve, driving that number 13 machine, rounding out the top 10. Matt Richards then, Scott Cervic rounding out your 6th row. Haley and Butcher inside the top 14. Butcher was looking very good back at Donington. Jack London and Ross McGregor rounding out your top 16. These drivers just work their way through the formation like Jan Vosnitzer making his first appearance of the season, and I believe in TCUK in general. Ben Willis in behind with Phil Garside and Phil Morby, the two Phils there on the 10th row of the grid. Hilton and Hartley rounding out the top 22. We've got Leppert and Adam Locke there. Of course, one of your quartermaster cars in the brand new Cupra making its first appearance here in TCUK. Then Blumschein and Dowman come in there, rounding out your top 26. Scott Morris and Carl Benson. Benson moving to RSR for this race today, second round of the season. And your final car on the grid today is going to be Max Spooner, also moving to that Cupra. So going back to 0 championship points. And it's certainly going to be a lot of questions being answered, Zach, in this first race. A lot of unknowns going into this one.
Yeah, indeed. So usually sort of that's what round 1 is for, sort of off the off season, coming into a new one, and people sort of maybe a couple of changes of speed and things. But no, the main drama comes in to round 2, obviously with the addition of Dan Cowan and Snitzer. So many different unknowns that are then maybe going to try and show their nose, and that cause a bit of an upset in the championship. And that's exactly what I love about championships like these, about grids like these, about cars like these, and yeah, formats like these as well. There's never a dull moment at all, because you've always got something to talk about. You've always got something to look at. There's always something to sort of throw a spanner into the works. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But Snetterton's, and yeah, it's a fantastic circuit, and with the grid as competitive as this and so many storylines to go through, we're in for a barnstorm in 12 laps.
And just looking through the tyre options for this race, I believe the top 3 are all on those option compound tyres as well, taking it for that first race, so using their qualifying speed to hopefully hold on to maybe a podium in this first race. 12 laps to come as you get the options out on the left hand side of your screen. Pretty much looking like a lot of the medium, the prime tyres, but a lot of the softs up towards the front. Look at them to have a jump off the line and then be a bit quicker, especially in the first 5 laps or so. We've got one of the rocket cars starting from the pit lane as well, so obviously not making it to the grid in time. But as ever, as the drivers come through the final corners, Blumschein there starting from the pit lane. Drivers will get ready for the 5 red lights. And after 4 weeks of waiting, we get back racing for the VMO TCUK for 2023. Matt Richards took the first victory back at Donington. Who is going to take the first victory tonight here at Snetterton for round 2? As the lights come on, the drivers will rev their engines up. They'll get ready for the hybrid boost as well once they can go fast enough. And as ever, it will be the start of another race. Hybrid system coming into effect after about 120 kilometers an hour. So wait for that run as you get towards the hairpin. But the lights come on. It's going to be Dan Kell on your pole position. And he's going to be so close with Wilson and Richards in beside. As they go away, Dan Kell gets a good run, but it's actually going to be Nichols there from the outside of that second row, coming towards turn number 1, side by side with Wilson on the apex of turn number 1. It's going to be very difficult to see just about who's going to come. There's some contact in the background. I believe as Dowman maybe making some contact. Richards, Nichols I should say, trying to defend, and from his teammate coming in towards the hairpin. Contact 3 wide on the exit, but it looks like a clean start for now.
Yeah, indeed. So perfect start from Dan Kell, it must be said. He's already been able to get a jump of about 1.3 seconds using those soft compound tyres to full effect. Side by side in the background, you can see in the bottom right of your screen, Thomas O'Leary trying to fight his way through the field. He at the moment picks his way into P12. This run now towards Agostini, one of the heaviest braking zones on the circuit. Everyone just trying to settle in 3 wide in the background there. Absolutely insane stuff but at least they're keeping it nice and clean. Great action in the opening moments.
Definitely a bit of contact, a bit of rubbing coming in as we come through this middle part of the lap. Don't want to be running wide onto the grass as we saw a couple of drivers do in that warm-up session, but it looks like it's going to be Kel getting an absolutely monster lead as we come to end Sector 2 and come out onto the back Bentley straight for the first time here of the 12 laps. We're getting side-by-side action in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen as we are just seeing Mitchell Martin there going backwards and backwards down to 12th place from that second row of the grid. Disappointing start from him.
Yeah, unfortunately, a couple of people are going to be a couple of losers, a couple of dust being kicked up in the background as well as we run our way into the chicane for the first time. Got to be careful of those sausage curbs on the inside because they are going to be quite lethal through the bomb hole for the first time. Use the camber to rotate the car, of course, side by side in the background. This is for what is 13th place. That's Chergwin trying to move his way past the 469 machine just in front. But to round off the first lap, we've not been at all lacking any action. Scott Sovic just on the back of Jan Visnitzer, who's making some steady progress through the field, but a poor run out of Murray's and could leave him susceptible to attack.
I think he's going to be getting a run up towards this front straightaway, but a little bit further up, Ryan Elliott is going to be trying to make a move on the outside of Mitchell there, trying to get a bit closer and closer once again up now towards the Montreal hairpin. This is always a good diving zone up towards the inside. Looks like he's just going to be able to make it. No, actually, it's going to be in the background. Is that Cripps coming through potentially on the exit side by side? Elliott's going to be getting pushed out of the way. Munro is trying to come through as well up towards the outside. This is not a place where you want to make an overtake, so Munro has to back out of that one. Tries to get a slight switch back, but isn't able to do that. But yeah, Elliott just getting pushed out of the way a little bit, flashing his lights to just show the aggression there of these drivers.
Yeah, the adrenaline is flowing. Oh my word, that sent into Agostini. Bit of contact. Ryan Elliott pushed wide a little bit from John Munro. He's sideways on the exit as well as they run their way out of Agostini. John Munro from an absolute mile back tried to go for that send on Ryan Elliott, who is able to keep 6th place. But a brilliant battle this is for 4th place. Bit of a breakaway from the top 3 who were sort of spread out in their own sort of pockets of track. This fight for 4th here is absolutely sensational. You've got Munro and Richards fighting side by side in the background. O'Leary and Brewster getting involved. This is exactly what happens when things start to bunch up here at Snetterton.
Oh, we've got cars off in the background as well, trying to see who's dropping down the field. Is it O'Leary maybe? Yeah, I think Thomas O'Leary's gone down the field. Brewster's lost a position to Vosnitzer as well. But yes, definitely O'Leary was the biggest loser out of that. We saw a lot of dust being kicked up. On the outside there, contact being made with the other Honda as well. Is that London or Garside, I think, that's making some contact in towards Brundles. Cars going all off over the show. And more cars around in the background, and that is, unfortunately, a little bit of chaos that they didn't want here on lap 2.
Yeah, that is the last thing you want to be seeing, but again, it's the risk you sort of take when you get yourself into battles like these. But well, we are absolutely loving all the action. Scott Sovic making a similar mistake that Jan Visnitzer did this time last lap, and his roles reversed from what we saw. Big carnage in the background. Who's that? Off the circuit tumbling down, not entirely sure, but it was just behind this shot that we're seeing right here with Sovic and Visnitzer and Haley. Just seems that, well, people struggling a little bit on the brakes in towards Murray's, because to be fair, you're coming off that very long right-handed downhill braking as well. Very easy to mess up.
All side by side in towards the Montreal hairpin there, getting some moves. I think Willis there making the dive down the inside, but Cervic as well, still trying to get past there for Znitz. We've got cars off in the background once again. I think that might have been Haley going off and just trying to make some positions. I wasn't expecting quite as frantic action they've had in the first couple of laps, but certainly showing the drivers want to be making some moves. Znitz here having to defend. Cervic down the inside though. Znitz leaves him room, to be fair. Cervic's going to go up the inside. He's going to have Willis trying to follow him through as Cervic makes that move. Visnitzer couldn't get the power down on the exit in that Vauxhall Astra, with the front wheel drive just not doing what he wanted to do at that part. Now into Oggie's though, is there going to be anything that they can do? No, not this part of the track. You definitely want to just try and get close to your opponent though as you come out onto this back straight.
Yeah, indeed. So I was watching some radicals. There's, oh my word, sideways out of at the corner that precedes the Bentley Straight. Yeah, watching some radicals at Snetterton the other week, and that run through Oggie's, Theo Mercurius was trying to sort of get the up and under, get the switch back on that run into the next right-hander, which is obviously a very bold and brave move. But what it did allow him to do was get a little bit closer to his opponent. And I think that is sort of the same philosophy that needs to be applied in these touring cars. Just stay as close as possible, and then maybe give yourself the opportunity through the Bentley Straight to then maybe have a look into the Brundle and Nelson chicane, just to sort of maybe see any moves sort of being fabricated. It is all about making the most of each and every opportunity that you do get, and more importantly, in battles like these where the pressure is so high, making sure that with any mistake your opponent makes, you're right on their case, ready to capitalize.
And that is what Rich is trying to do, of course. Championship leader coming in to this one. He won 2 of the 3 races at Donington. Absolutely dominated them, to be fair. And, of course, is carrying that championship ballast into this first race. And is therefore just a little bit low down than what he would have wanted. Side by side in behind him though, we've got Butcher and Elliot going side by side. Butcher's going to come out on top of that one. I think with Elliot actually going down that position, hasn't had the best start to this race. Is going backwards, although I think he might be on the prime tyres, which is not going to be helping that one. Off the top of my head, but yeah, certainly an interesting one for him, because he's always, we said this in Donington, he's always getting involved in these scraps. So is Butcher. Nice battle though forming between these two. Butcher able to hold on as he did in Donington. In the end, Butcher I think spent most of those 3 races defending, and to be fair to him, he actually got some good results because of it.
Yeah, well, if you're in a good position, hang on to it, and well, you're going to keep said good position. So yeah, always nice to see, but obviously the risk you run with that is you're less likely to move forward. So if you do fall backwards, you will most likely fall a lot backwards, and you limit your opportunities of moving forward. This is a fight here for 12th place. Sovic, Vosnitsa and Haley, you can see side by side. This is Haley trying to get the move done on Vosnitsa. Outside as they run their way in towards the chicane. Vosnitsa's going to be stuck on the inside, trying to dust off some cobwebs. First appearance in this championship. Around the outside goes Stephen Haley. Over the anti-cup curbs. Oh my goodness me. That was a Honda Space Pro. I said it on lap 1. You've got to be careful of them.
Wow, that is the highest I've seen a car in quite a while, jumping over some of those curbs. That was incredible. That was able to hold on for that. That Butcher was maybe sliding that rear end. Crazy scenes there, as we're seeing as that Chowick there going off a bit too wide, 3 wide on the exit. Got Mitchell Marm getting up involved in that. Scott Cervic as well, side by side down this front straightaway towards the first corner. Still side by side. Who is going to back out of this one? Is it going to be inside or the outside that comes on top? It's going to be Mitchell Marm holding it all the way around the outside. Goes too wide, and Cervic comes through on the exit of turn 1. Big brave move as Vanessa now in the background, trying now go to the outside as well, as he's also got a Ben Willis in the background. Willis chops him back up the inside as Vosnitsa loses another place. Awesome switchback manoeuvres and battles continuing here at Snetterton.
I am absolutely loving this. Vosnitsa's still under a bit of pressure as they run their way through Palmer. It's all about sort of the exit, that run that you get through the left-hander, because you've got a bit of a straight or a bit of a flat-out section towards Agostini, and that is exactly what O'Leary is going to look to squeeze his way through to the left-hand side as they head themselves onto the brakes. You've got so many cars, nose to tail, giving us some brilliant action in the opening of race 1. The first half has been nothing short of fantastic. It's fantastic. It's great racing. It's respectful. It's Thomas O'Leary going for the send into Oggies. Oh my word, thread the needle. Bit of contact with the Netrex GP car. He's still able to hang on as Jan Vosnitsa. Yeah, the fact is this is so aggressive, so competitive, but it's so respectful at the same time as a mistake in front.
Certainly is. Can't quite see who is off. Might have been Choga in there going off, losing a couple of places there. I think Willis has gone through, as well as Mitchell Marm. Side by side, almost into Brundle, as we're going to see, hopefully not Honda's going over that curve, which they don't this time around. That's a nice switchback over. Vosnitsa's going to have to defend on the outside. That's going to be so difficult side by side between the two. Almost a bit of contact as dust gets thrown up in the air the umpteenth time this race. Absolutely crazy through the bomb there between those two drivers.
Yeah, they are not leaving anything on the table, which is fantastic from a viewing perspective. It does rise the pressure quite a lot. Thomas O'Leary getting a very nice rear view of the Netrex Vauxhall just in front, side by side as well, it must be said, between Mitchell Marm and Willis. Is Jan Vosnitsa going to give any space to O'Leary as they run their way in towards Richards for the turn number 1 to start lap number 6, continuing to go side by side. Vosnitsa's given him a fantastic run on the left-hand side by side just in front as well, it must be said, between Mitchell Marm and now Kerdwin as they head onto the brakes for Montreal. Jan Vosnitsa left to dry on the outside, and very quickly he's under pressure from Brewster.
Yeah, nice battles. This is just continuing throughout the race. Side by side, though, up ahead, as that is Chowin there going, or trying to go at least, down the inside of Mitchell Marm. I think that is actually going to work, coming to Agostini, as we're also getting Brewster in the same corner, trying to make it side by side. Chowin there is going to hold on. Mitchell Marm going to get a bit of contact in the background as well. Yeah, crazy stuff to see there. You just basically do one battle, and then the next person comes for you. Amazing to see how close all these drivers are, as they're almost just trying to go down the inside, getting into Ockies. That is a bit wide though from Mitchell Marm, just showing how difficult it is to keep the car on the track around this racetrack, as Vznitsa's got a great view and potentially Marm gets another one done.
Yeah, he's, tumbling down ever so slightly. Vznitsa under pressure from Brewster, who looks to the right-hand side. You've also got McGregor and Haley, who's rejoined this battle after, the very interesting takeoff that we saw at this chicane here. Jan Vznitsa is able to hold his own relative to Brewster, is able to keep his 15th place. I have to say, I'm so impressed by the standard of racing, how much they're throwing at each other. This is a fight, though, a little bit further up, the fight for 5th between Callum Cripps and Ryan Elliott as they run their way out of Murray's. And, this is a fight a little bit higher up. This is for 5th place, of course, means a little bit more points, and, of course, so they're going to be raring to go for this one. But they've got to be careful, though, because Monroe and Richards are not too far back. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with Richards, considering that ballast, considering he's not even on the option tyres either. To be in 8th place and not too far off the top 5 is mightily impressive.
Yeah, this is a nice solid race, and as ever the result of this race carries into race 2, but then the ballast moves from the championship standings to the result of this race as well. So therefore Richards will have basically very little ballast coming in that 8th place as well, so he'll be very competitive in that second race. So this is, I'd say, somewhat going to plan, and even though it's 3 individual races, you always need to think of them as a whole and how you can get your best average result from that, because winning every race isn't necessarily possible or even the best thing, because then you're always going to have more ballast and it always makes your life a little bit more difficult. So definitely, Richards will be liking that one as he tries to keep the number 1 on that car coming into 2024 next year. A little bit further back, Scott Cervic, we've seen him a few times so far this race. He wants to get on the back and overtake Butcher, as that gap to the man we're just mentioning, Richards up ahead, is starting to grow a little bit, but as ever Butcher is defending really well. Coming down this back straight, the Bentley straight up towards Brundles. Can Cervic get closer? He is certainly getting, but it's not quite going to be enough to make a move, unfortunately.
Yeah, you've got to make the most of the slipstream. It is quite a long straight, the Bentley straight, so you have got quite a long time spent flat out, but not quite enough for Scott Sovic to find a way through the bomb hole, though. And as we say, it is all about staying as close as you can through Coram, the very, 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 very long right hand that then leads you into the final corner here at Murray's. Probably one of the most difficult braking zones on the circuit, particularly when you're on a train like this. A couple of looks there, that's Willis trying to nick his way up the inside, nothing really showing. Also side by side in that fight for 5th, Ryan Elliott versus Callum Cripps go 2 wide, and the advantage there from Ryan Elliott just to saw his way past Cripps as if he was stood still. That was probably the best case scenario there for Elliott, not fighting too hard with Cripps and not reeling Monroe and Richards in any further.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of hybrid deployment in that one, because that was, as you say, an absolute freight train down the front straight. We're getting side by side, a bit further back down. That's Leopard MP 21 trying to get on the back of Adam Locke, is in the background as well. We've seen Dowman and Blumshine going trying to go side by side in towards the Montreal hairpin. Blumshine was getting very close. Can he do it? Yes, he can. Down the inside into Montreal, and on the exit, he's going to go through nicely. It's awesome, actually, how the racing seems to work. You seem to, if you're able to keep it in a very nice sort of flow, a nice rhythm, it seems to work out. But as soon as you get out the inside, it just seems to break your rhythm, and it's very hard to get back into that. And also the brakes on these cars are, I would say, pretty difficult. They're not, the absolute top performance brakes. So as you see, lots of drivers there missing the apexes, and that always opens up some opportunities. Blumshine there going on the gravel, on the grass, trying to make another position, but P22 for now.
Yeah, considering he started in the pit lane, he's not doing too bad to claw his way up, maybe see himself inside the top 20. I think that'd be a good start. And moving forward, Matthew Churgwin still in this very heated battle behind Butcher for P9. Bit of a train going on. A couple of looks in the background as O'Leary is about 1 second off. So if they continue to fight, then they will find themselves with an extra couple of cars, because Mitchell Marmon, Vznitsa and Haley aren't too far back off this fight. So always something to be mindful of. But we are now into sort of the final stages of this race, the final few laps, lap 9 of 12. As Dan Kelp has sort of just really had a very comfortable run out in front. I think it all stemmed from that opening lap, using those soft compound tyres and getting away. And now he's in a position where, even though Wilson is sort of matching him for pace, Kel's got the gap just to chill.
Yeah, the gap after the end of lap 1, if I remember, was about 1.6, which is roughly what it is now. So as you say, he's managing that gap well, but what's happening mainly is they're pulling away from Nichols in that 3rd place, and then Mitchell a bit further back in 4th, and that is pretty much confirming them that they're going to be there on the podium, even if they make a small mistake. So yeah, great opening half, already 2/3 of the first race here at Snetterton, as the battles, of course, continue a bit lower down. The points, I believe it's for top 15 get points as well, so that's why we've seen these huge battles there from Butcher all the way down to Oliver Znitzer and even Haley in behind there for your 10th to 16th battle. But here is Donington for Calamity, the number 89 machine, working his way out onto that back Bentley straight through Williams and just enjoying his life. It is, Wilson in his mirrors though. A couple of tenths it has been on that previous lap, so he is closing down, so it's not complete plain sailing, but I assume he's got this under control.
Yeah, provided he doesn't obviously make a massive mistake, it's sort of his to lose at this point. A lot of pressure on his shoulders, Dan Kell, obviously, but he's a very capable driver. He knows how to keep himself composed. He knows how to handle a situation like this. Back to this fight, though, because Monroe is still under a bit of pressure from Matt Richards, who is coming into today trying to defend the championship lead, of course, and doing very, very well, all things considered, with slower tyres and the championship ballast added to his car as well. He's driving fantastically. Side by side in the background as well. Was that Sovic having a couple of issues? I think it was. He's tumbled down. He's lost a few places. Now outside the points in 16th. Now even lower. Oh my word, even a big one. Churgwin's involved.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been some, I think there's a crash in that battle and then a further contact a bit later on, because all those drivers are pretty close together. And we've also got on the King's cars, that Mitchell Marm also going around, so maybe there's contact between those two going through the bomb hole, which of course would have continued and maybe some further contacts. That is not what you want to see. But unfortunately, it seems to be that part of the track has been catching out a few drivers. We've seen Hondas up in the air. We saw, I think there was I can't remember who it was, but there was another car that was background at that corner a few laps ago as well. So definitely a very tricky part of the track where they're all pushing the absolute limits as we saw earlier. But unfortunately, a few drivers coming a cropper.
Yeah, I think it is always naturally going to happen. Obviously, it's not what you want to see. It's not what anyone wants to happen, but the probability is quite high. When you've got so many cars fighting so hard, chances are something is going to go wrong at some point. And unfortunately, a couple of drivers have received the worst end of it. What this has meant, though, is Ross McGregor has been given a lifeline with a chance of points if he's able to negotiate his way past Scott Sovic. He might well pick up at least a sniff of a championship point, but he's not got very long left to do it at all. We're into the final 2.5 laps of the opening race here at Snetterton, and well, I have to say, it really hasn't disappointed at all. It's been a fantastic introduction to the series from for me, and obviously a fantastic continuation for Cam. Yeah, if this is what we're in for not only the rest of the evening but the rest of the season, bring it on.
Yeah, and we've had 3 DNFs so far as well, which I would say is somewhat of a good ratio considering the amount of crashes that we've seen so far. Spooner, Garside and Morby the ones to DNF. But the battles continue up ahead. Elliott was down about 8th place at one point, but he's now battling for this 4th place. Luke Mitchell up ahead for Kings Racing. Onto the front straightaway. That was a good exit there from Ryan Elliott, really getting into the slipstream of the car, but it looks like Mitchell's just using some of that hybrid power to pull away just a little bit on the straights, of course, in the same machinery. So definitely sort of similarities there, but the driving style, of course, is working the way of Ryan Elliott. He had a much better apex there through turn 1, coming down in towards the Montreal hairpin on the outside. Mitchell brakes a bit later though. Can he make the apex? He just about does, but Ryan Elliott putting all the pressure on as we come into the final few laps of the race. Yeah,
getting the rear end out a little bit squirmy as well was Ryan Elliott, putting the power down a little bit too quickly off the exit of the Montreal hairpin and putting on some fantastic pressure to Luke Mitchell, who himself is responding to that so well, and he is keeping himself so composed. A bit of a lock-up that we saw through Riches at turn 1, which obviously was the mistake that left him susceptible in the first place, but he held his composure really, really nicely. Ryan Elliott, you can tell, is pushing tooth and nail for this 4th place. With how he's sort of driving the car, putting his foot down a little bit too quickly, you can tell that he's very, very eager, very, very impatient, and wants to build up the speed enough. They're on their way through Oggies and now through Williams to go their way down the Bentley Straight. This is where we'll really see Ryan Elliott shine. Maybe as long as he can put his foot down nice and effectively, he might have a good run. I think Mitchell knows that.
Is there going to be any hybrid power being used? It looks like Mitchell might just be defending once again, as Elliott can't seem to get close enough at this point. They really don't have to worry about Cripps in behind us. So, oh, that's too wide though. That is way too wide by Luke Mitchell, taking too much speed into Brundles. Couldn't get it stopped. As we come through the bottom hole now, side by side, it's going to be Ryan Elliott just about getting that position. Can he hold on to it? Through Coram though, all the way around the outside, it's going to be for Luke Mitchell. That is not going to be the favourable line as Ryan Elliott gets himself up into 4th place and into the final corner now. We're going to start the final lap of the race, and Elliott doesn't have enough time to get onto the podium, but he'll be happy with 4th place for sure. And I was just about to say his aggressive driving style definitely works out well for him in many situations, and I think they're just putting on the pressure really helps against Luke Mitchell.
Yeah, indeed. So Mitchell was spending more time looking in his rearview mirror than he was sort of focusing on the drive. And side by side here is Willis and O'Leary continue their battle. This is for the back end of the top 10. Thomas O'Leary around the outside. A bit of contact between the pair of them, but now Willis is on the fight back into the Montreal hairpin, very much chopping his nose off to go defensive into the hairpin. There you can see our race leader and quite possibly race winner of Dan Kell in the bottom right. He's got about half the lap left to go. He's cruising his way to victory, 2.5 seconds clear of Wilson.
That was some very tough defence there from O'Leary in between the first corner and then the second as well. That was definitely an aggressive piece of defensive driving to hold on to that position as they try and make, of course, their final couple of places. But we jump back to the front as Dan Kell has extended his lead almost 2.5 seconds. He's been a very commanding performance so far, Zach.
It has. It's been a great way to introduce him back into the championship. Of course, a couple of years ago, he was able to take the 2021 Driver Championship. So he's looking to re-spark that campaign and maybe re-spark a rivalry with Matt Richards as well. He's got a couple more corners left to go. The run to the line, Dan Kell starts the season off in very good fashion, making the most of his lack of ballast.
And he'll be going into race 2 with the ballast that time around though, so let's see what he does. But he's certainly taking advantage of the situation, puts it on pole, and is going to be taking the first race here at Snetterton, race 4 of the season, and he weaves to line with such a dominant drive there. Wilson is going to be following in behind. He's going to love that after a slightly disappointing first round back at Donington, with Nichols rounding out the podium but 6.5 seconds behind. He'll want to find some extra speed as we get into the second and third races of the evening. Elliott will then come across in a very hard-fought 4th place with Mitchell, Cripps, Munro, and just Matt Richards there in 8th place. He'll be, I'd say, pretty happy with that, and he'll be very strong later this evening. Certainly a chaotic first part of the evening there, Zach, and to us, I expect we're going to see that, especially in the first few laps of the next 2 races coming up.
I think so too. I think the overtaken opportunities here at Snetterton definitely are not few and far between. There are so many different places to get these moves done. These guys prove that. The addition of the hybrid units, as well as Jack London goes side by side on the run to the line, narrowly missing out on 24th place. Or did he get it in the end? I think he might have as well. So good little bit of racing there towards the back end of the field, and a great way to round off race 1. But yeah, I think Snetterton is definitely not lacking any overtaken opportunities. The fights that we saw up and down the field there were fantastic. Dan Kell, though, he's got a little bit more of a tough job coming up for race 2 with the ballast.
Yeah, we're a little bit premature there with the race. London taking it to the line out of the final corner at Murray's and having a great run. So fair play, just showing you that every position does count as ever in TCUK. And it's certainly been a great one there for the first race. And I can't wait to see how this is going to work in the next couple of races. Of course, we'll basically use that same result again for race 2, where we'll get the ballast in your top 10. So we'll have a look and just confirm. Dan Kell leading the way from Wilson, Nichols rounding out your podium, Elliott, Mitchell, Cripps and Munro in your top 7, and then Richards, Butcher and Thomas O'Leary rounding out your top 10. Butcher and O'Leary certainly had an amazing fight there, and I'm sure that one is going to continue through the night. Willis, who tried his best to get inside the top 10, just missed out, with Haley and Brewster there in your top 13. Vazitza on debut goes into P14. Cervic, who had a bit of a spin at one point as well, in 15th place. McGregor and Churgwin in the top 17. Hilton, Locke and Mitchell Marm rounding out your top 20. Of course, Marm was one of the cars that was backwards, I believe, a couple of times in this race. Benton, Hartley and Leppert in your top 23 before London, Dowman, Blumshine from the pit lane to P26, and Scott Morris, your final finisher of the 12 laps, with Spooner Garside and Morby being your DNFs. We'll just step aside for a couple of minutes, but when we come back, we'll be taking you through race 2 action here from Snetterton and TCUK round number 2. Welcome back to Snetterton for round 2 of the VMO TCUK powered by VCO for 2023. We just had the first race of the evening where Dan Kell took a pretty commanding victory from Callum Wilson and Jack Nichols rounding out the podium as well. It was a very chaotic race, let's put it that way, Zach. It was certainly, quite a few drivers going off the track onto the grass, a few drivers going around, and hopefully we just cleaned it up a little bit, but hopefully we still get some nice overtakes and side-by-side action. Yeah,
we had a good pick of action to talk through over the course of the first race. Obviously, it was a little bit sorted between the top three for the majority of the race. There was not really much fluctuation. They were able to get away at the start, and that sort of helped them keep their place. But that fight for fourth downwards, pretty much the entire field back from fourth was locked in some sort of a fight. Whether it was a train, whether it was a couple of drivers in their own little squabble, we had our choice, and that is something that I really do hope that we have carrying forward for race 2 and race 3. But with changes with sort of tyre choices and the success ballast sort of shifting, we've sort of now shifted away from the championship one and now to the success one, so it's based off the race results of race 1. So the sort of the order might be changed ever so slightly, but we'll wait and see, because 12 laps in retrospect isn't actually a long time to make those moves forward.
It's certainly not. It's interesting you mentioned those things, such as the weight and the option tyres, as we get Dan Kell back on that pole position. But of course, the prime tyres this time around. Here's your grid, though, for race 2. Dan Kell, Callum Wilson on the front row of the grid, as they were last time around. Jack Nichols and Ryan Elliott rounding out your top 4. But of course, these top 10 drivers all with the weight ballast, courtesy of that first race. Mitchell and Cripps in your top 6 with Munro and Matt Richards there in P8 on a pretty low ballast, and also on the option tyres for your championship leader. Chris Butcher and Thomas O'Leary, who had great battles, along with Ben Willis and Stephen Haley there inside your top 12. Those 4 giving us great action in race 1. Brewster and Woznitsa inside your top 14 with Cervic and McGregor inside your top 16. You'll be looking potentially for McGregor to come forward. He had a lot better round back at Donington. Churgwin, who was round a couple of times in that first race, down in 17th with Hilton, Adam Locke and Scott Mitchell-Marm, who's also involved in a couple of accidents in that first race, down in P20s. Oh, that's almost a slide in the background as well on the formation lap. Benton and Hartley in the top 22, Leppit and Jack London there, who just pipped P24 to the line, ahead of Dowman there for your P25. Blumshine from the pit lane this time from the grid in P26. Morris and Spooner rounding out your top 28, and just one more page with Garside and Phil Morby, a couple of your DNFs from last race. Zach, what are you expecting this time around? Of course, the ballast is changing around, so different drivers will be slowing down. Of course, the option tyres coming in the way of Matt Richards. It's certainly going to be a very intriguing race here too.
Look out for Matt Richards, I think, is going to be the general consensus of this race. He's there in 8th, which obviously means that he's dropped from 75 kilos of ballast to now only 21 kilos. Quick maths, that's 54 kilograms of ballast less, which means he's going to be a little bit quicker. And obviously he is on the softer compounded tyre as well, for good measure. Matt Richards, I think, is going to be on a bit of a charge towards the front. Look out for Dan Kell as well. Obviously starting on pole, but now he's not only got that 75 kilogram success ballast, he's also on the harder compound tyre. He's on the medium of the two, which means that he is going to be struggling a little bit to defend, but he's also got Wilson, Nichols and Elliott all on the same compound tyre, so at least Kell's got a little bit of a buffer in that regard. He might be able to use it to maybe build up a gap at the start and hope that the likes of Mitchell, Script, Munro, Richards and Butcher don't skyrocket themselves into contention. But yeah, I think we are in for a very interesting 12 laps of racing here, and look out, obviously, as we expected, at the entire midfield battle as well. There are many different narratives to look through over the course of the next 12 laps.
Yeah, points down to 15th place. And of course the P11 to 15th with no ballast, so they can just go and fight it at absolute top performance. Your top 4 starting on the prime tyres, got Munro then 7th place also, but some soft tyre runners there inside your top 9 with Dan and Chris Butcher in P9. They're going to be the ones to look out for, trying to move forward through this 12 lap race. Kell on pole, about 75 kilos is going to be weighing him down as it works its way down to 0 kilos for P9. The lights come on though for race 2 here at Snetterton TCUK 2023, and as the lights go green. Let's see. Kel actually got a really good start there. Once again, Wilson not with the best start. Nichols coming around the outside. This is an action replay of the first races. Elliott's trying to get involved with 3 wide in the background, side by side between all the drivers trying to work their way through the first corner. Wilson goes down. Elliott moves up a position, and Butcher around the outside for P5. Luke Mitchell drops down another place as well as a side by side. 3 wide coming into the Montreal corner. They're all missing the apex. They all can't get it stopped. As we're going side by side, the exit, Elliott's going to go up into P2.
Goodness me, what a bit of racing this is. 3 wide as they run their way into West Palmer. You can see Callum Wilson trying to get the up and over on the 2 cars in front. Oh my word, Mitchell in the mix as well. Nichols going side by side. The only person that's been able to get the jump out of this and stay clear is Dan Kell. Oh my word, look at this. This is like they're over racing. It looks like we're going NASCAR racing with these guys. A bit of contact as they run their way through Agostini, but oh no, I was about to say there's no spin. There is one straggler who's spun. Nichols is round. Cripps has had an issue as well. It's carnage, it's chaos in the open moments of race 2.
Yeah, that was Cripps, the one being spun around on the apex there, and that into Agostini, and that is not the way. We've got more contact out there at Oggies as well. We've got cars around as they try. I think that's Wilson from your second place is dropping down the way. He's about P11 now, as somehow Dan Kell, of course, leading the way, but it's Elliott up into second place, Butcher third. Luke Mitchell's got himself back up into 4th place. We're still side by side. Vosnitz has made up 4 places, trying to get himself up even into the top 9. He's got Ben Willis up ahead of him. Brundles is the next corner for them as they're going side by side, but Vosnitzer backs out of that one as Wilson there trying to recover. Now for that P11 side by side in behind him as well with Brewster and Haley, as now Vosnitzer tries to make moves. So much action, all the drivers knowing that this is a good opportunity to make up positions.
Yeah, you want to get them while they're all close together, while everyone's fresh and while everyone's still a little bit nervous on the opening moments. That's the best time to strike, but it's also the best time to be struck. As oh well, that is off. That's heading towards the barrier. Who's that heading towards the barrier? I think that's McGregor. Basically just rocket shipping towards the spectators going through Coram into Murray's, and not great to say the least. It shows how difficult a braking zone is and shows how easy it can go wrong for him. He rejoins the circuit all the way down in P30. Not the first lap that many people would have liked, but Matt Richards and Mitchell and Butcher and Elliott and Cal, they're all loving life up in front. But it's a war zone in behind, let's put it that way. They've got it easy as Cam Brewster now side by side and now falling behind down to P14.
Oh, absolute scenes here at Snetterton. Just can't move away from any action as we're going to see Brewster now getting a run down in towards Agostini. Is he going to be making that move up the inside of Hartley? Looks like he is there as a lock-up just ahead. Oh, cars around up ahead. That is his teammate. Not quite team matches, but Ben Willis has made that mistake. Vosnitzer almost 2 wide, 3 rows deep there, coming up towards an absolutely almost flat-out left-hander, and this is not going to be the way that they would have wanted this race to go so far. In towards Oggies, still side by side, and it's a little bit carnage. You've got to work on instincts, try and make the moves as they open up ahead of you, as Bruce then manages to make that place for P12. Churgwin getting involved, as of course Jack Nichols there from the front has now gone down back into P14. So this is a bit interesting for some of these drivers. Brewster now on the back straight, down the Bentley straight, using that hybrid power, getting up the inside in towards Brundles. He's on a tight line though, sending Ben Willis as well. 2 positions for the price of 1 there for Brewster.
Oh my word, that is bold, brave and brilliant from Brewster, who was on the back foot at the beginning of this lap and, not anymore. Well and truly inside the top 10. Back to the fight at the front. Matt Richards with a bit of a lock-up, also with Thomas O'Leary behind. Who's that off the road there? Is that Elliott? That's Ryan Elliott from second place. He's off. He's had a spin. He's going to rejoin the circuit. No, he's not even inside the top 10. That is a long way down. Also, Brewster's had an issue. He's tumbling outside the top 20. Also, side by side as they run their way in towards turn number 1. Matt Richards trying to nip his way up the inside of Mitchell. We can't even talk about one thing, because by the time we're halfway through talking about one thing, another thing's already sparked itself into the spotlight. This is insane racing, and we're only a quarter of the way through.
They're just showing you why this touring car style of racing is still very much relevant in the world of motorsport. It's absolute action up and down the field. Matt Richards here, 4th place, now trying to go round the outside. Luke Mitchell, he's made it work. He's had an amazing exit there coming to Agostini. He's going to make that work up into 3rd place. We said he was the one to look out for from that P8. He's already up onto the podium. 1.8 seconds he needs to catch. He's in the lower 3rd. We've got Callum Wilson a bit low down in 14th place. Also trying to battle. There's Haley and a few cars up ahead. They're sliding around. There are all sorts of racing lines being used there. I don't know if that's by choice or not, but certainly a very hectic opening 3 laps here for race 2.
Yeah, I don't even think hectic does it justice. Up and down, yeah, it's just there's cars on the circuit and they're sending moves. Aidan Millward, the poor sod, has to sort of deal with the stewards' inquiries at the end of this race. Side by side, at that bottom right, you can see between Wilson and Hartley as they run their drag race towards the Brundle left-hander. Up over the curb, Thomas O'Leary trying to emulate what Stephen Haley did over the course of race 1, but not quite to a similar extent. But everyone pushing the limits is off the roads. Who's that off? Churgwin, I think. Yeah, I think Churgwin's had an issue and taken to the grass. So mistakes, carnage, chaos, and overtakes. Well, what could we really ask for?
What a day Churgwin has had, as mentioned in the pre-show, coming in as a sub-driver for this race for Carl Smith. And yeah, it's certainly an eventful evening, but still, of course, one race to go for some points to be had potentially. As Butcher there sets the fastest lap of the race in that second place, chasing down Dan Kell. As who is that? As Mitchell's gone off on the exit of the first corner of Forbes, and definitely, yeah, difficult couple of quarters for him as Richards got past, of course, not so long ago, and now he's got O'Leary all over the back of him, and even Munro in with half a shout. O'Leary, I think, is actually just backed out that one. Looking at the timing tower, didn't quite make that move, but back a bit lower down for the final point in that P15th place. It's currently Adam Locke holding on to that, but he's got a few drivers in behind who want to take that off him.
Yeah, everyone is going to be licking their lips at an opportunity like this, and trains as action-packed as this. Anyone at any time can benefit. Side by side in the foreground going into Agostini was a couple of cars as they dispute over the stragglers just outside of the top 10, but yeah, brilliant stuff from all involved. It has been very respectful racing for the most part, apart from sort of lap 1 where everyone was a little bit argy-bargy, but yeah, we've seen how likely mistakes are to happen, how likely race-ending mistakes and incidents are likely to happen. So if you're sort of Churgwin, Benton, Hilton, sort of there but not really there, don't give up, because the chance of points are well and truly still on the table if you play your cards right and if you stay in the race. It's all about not losing hope and being in it to win it.
That's not the nicest of lines there from Haley, or Holly I should say, as coming through. That is a little bit of grass as well. Haley's going to be getting the run up towards Curran corner. This is such an amazing corner to have. Long right-handed corner in towards the final corner. Murray's, you can half have a sniff down the inside, but not really. You just want to get a good exit out onto this main straight. But I think up ahead is actually going to be Nichols and Wilson. Willis having a bit of a run down the front straightaway. You can see loads of battery being used there by Hartley. And you can just see how many meters you gain from that coming in towards the first corner Riches, and it's not going to be a move there. Nichols stays behind. Coming a bit further back though, and Luke Mitchell under attack once again. Thomas O'Leary getting right in behind. Scott Cervic also in with a shout of this P4 if he keeps on putting the pressure. Richards has gone off it up the road and looking at getting himself a podium, but a little bit further back. As we say, Thomas O'Leary's trying to start to put the pressure on Mitchell there. We've seen him make a few mistakes already for the King's Racing driver.
Yeah, Butcher right on the rear wing of Dan Kell for the race lead. Matt Richards in the mix as well. So if I was sort of O'Leary, Sovic and Mitchell, I'd be saying, nah boys, come on, let's work together, let's get onto the back of that train, then we can sort of decide these disputes, because right now if we fight, we've got no chance of a podium or a win. On board with Scott Sovic in the BMW, you can see the bottom right there. He's got a very good front row seat to the rear end of O'Leary in front. A fight all the way down, side by side for the race lead though. Dan Kell versus Chris Butcher. Outside line, I think, for the 65 machine, who tries to negotiate his way past the Ford Focus. No way through for now. Dan Kell keeping his zone out in front.
This is starting to turn into a pretty heated attack from Butcher coming into the final couple of corners. We're only halfway through this race. Kell on not the option tyres. He's back onto the primes for this race. He's on the heaviest ballast. He's really going to struggle to hold on to this one. Chris Butcher, he's been up there through pretty much every race we've had so far this season, and he really knows what to do in this style of racing as well. Matt Richards has just really come on the back of them. Although it's actually going to be Butcher pulling out there, uses some hybrid power as we come across the line to start a new lap. Around the outside into Richards. I don't think Kel's got anything to fight back as this, as Butcher tries to come down to the apex. Kel is going to hold this up the inside in towards the Montreal hairpin, and Richards is going to be following him through as well. Butcher's made a bit of a mistake there, unfortunately. Matt Richards, though, from third place. Can he go up towards first? It's going to be the outside line now in towards Palmer, but he's going to have so much more grip, a lot less ballast as well, and he goes through third to first as Butcher is going to do the up and under. Kel goes down into third place. They swap positions completely, and that has just been a nightmare for Kel in the opening 3 corners.
It has been indeed. Into Agostini, he's got no counter-attack on Butcher, and well, I think this is going to be Richard's race to lose from now on. Side by side of the background as Luke Mitchell tries to keep his own versus Thomas O'Leary in the fight for fourth. O'Leary's able to get the better of him on the exit now through the left and in towards Oggies. No movement between anyone. I don't think these three are line astern, nose to tail as they run their way through. But they're only about 1.4 seconds off Dan Cal as well. So despite the fact they are fighting, they are still closing the gap bit by bit. Luke Mitchell now with the slipstream, maybe a bit of hybrid deployment as well into the mix. Who knows what will come about. I'll be honest though, Butcher is keeping Matt Richards quite honest. The gap is only 0.3 of a second, so we might still have a chance at a fight for the race lead on our hands.
Yeah, I think we certainly will. Although that's Butcher hitting that curb. We saw Haley earlier. The Haley's coming in for Butcher there, and is certainly working out in the favour of him in some ways, because he's able to continue. But Kel is all over the back now by 0.3 of a second, and Richards is of course going up the way. But Luke Mitchell here in that 5th place. He's obviously been overtaken by O'Leary. He's now got Cervic coming in behind. Let's come down the front straight away as that turn 1 beckons. And are we going to see any of the hybrid power being used by any of these drivers as we come across the line side by side almost? It's going to be the outside of turn 1 here at Richie's 4 Cervic, but he's going to have to drop in, try and get a slight cut back and towards the run up towards the inside of Montreal, but I don't think he's going to quite have enough. It's actually going to be in the background. That's Monroe diving it down the inside. Contact made between the two. The Toyota coming out of nowhere, but Cervic manages to hold on.
Yeah, brilliant fighting between all of these guys, and absolutely loving every single second of it. It's respectful, it's clean, it's hard, and that is the exact perfect combination of ingredients that we love to see when it comes to some touring car action. And they're not backmarkers either. They're not fighting for the tail end of the field. These are for some pretty important positions towards the top end. The fight for 5th in this case between these 3. Slavic Monroe, oh my word, Monroe sideways through there. That was impressive. He's now doing a bit of lawnmower as they head their way in towards Oggies. How he's held on to that, I do not know. As Slavic looking to nip his way to the inside of Williams, no way through for now. But John Monroe with a very nice hand, it must be said. Good little drift there from Monroe.
Yeah, fortunately he's got a front-wheel drive car, so that would have helped him save that, just floor the throttle, which is always a good thing. Serving, though, to the inside of Brundles. Actually, no, backs out of that one and pulls back into the racing lines. We get yellow flags out in Sector 2, so we see that yellow flag popping up quite often, actually, in the opening race and a half today, as Luke Mitchell still holds on to this position for now, as Cervic is trying to find a way through, as up ahead we're seeing O'Leary already catching up to Dan Kell for that final podium place, of course. And is this going to be the inside of Murray's for Cervic? No, not quite enough. Going to try and get a slightly later apex there, try and get the run, but Mitchell has actually got pretty decent exit himself. But up ahead, I really think it's actually going to be O'Leary's going to be the one to look out for down this front straightaway. Kell, I think, is going to be losing another place. 5 laps remaining. How many places is he going to lose? Maybe not this one, though. In towards Richie's for another time. He goes a little bit wider there on the exit. Brings it back, though, down towards the inside of the Montreal hairpin. Side by side in the braking zone. O'Leary all the way around the outside. Kell's just going to squeeze him a little bit wide and hold on to that position. But it's Cervic in the background who dives up the inside of Mitchell as well.
Yeah, and Thomas O'Leary ducking and diving, trying to find the space on Dan Cal, who defends in towards Palmer. It's going to give the up and under to Thomas O'Leary, who, if he can put his foot down first, might have a good run in towards Agostini. Defensive goes Dan Cal straight away to the left-hand side into Agostini. No space on the inside, so O'Leary's going to have to try and go the long way round. No changes in behind Oulton, Sovic and Mitchell. O'Leary, once more, still looking at that rear end of that Ford Focus. Dan Cal is putting up a mighty defence for this at 3rd place. He does not want to lose the podium. He wants to keep that streak of staying on the podium throughout the entire evening. And now Thomas O'Leary looks to the outside. Once again, it gives him the opportunity for the up and under. Dan Cal is very, very firm in this defence.
Oh, that is... this is going to be so difficult for Kel to hold on to. Look as he's slowing down O'Leary behind. Cervic and Mitchell just catching up. Down this back straight, though, through Bentley's. That's going to be the outside for Thomas O'Leary. Does he have the grip to go all the way around the outside of Brundles? Not quite. He's going to have to back out of that one. Actually, no, he is trying it. In towards Nelson, side by side between the two. The curb is in play there. Almost 3 wide on the exit. Cervix tries to get involved. Where is Dan Kelt in all of this? It's going to be the outside of the bomb hole. And it's actually going to be Mitchell now. 2 by 2 we come through Coram Corner all the way around the outside. It's going to be for Mitchell. He's going to have to back out that one, I would assume. Kelt still holds on to this place. Cervix side by side with Mitchell in towards the final corner. Almost 3 wide for a moment there. This is absolute scenes at Snetterton.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we live for. This is why we do what we do. Side by side, Sovic and Mitchell, and now side by side. Once again, they're going to settle into that 2 by 2 formation in towards Richards, and it is going to be Dankel who holds on the inside. But look for O'Leary to send the car the long way round. Dankel keeps his foot in. I'm going to have the inside for the Montreal hairpin. Outside line once more for O'Leary, who's later on the brakes. A bit of a send from Mitchell in the background as well as Monroe gets himself into the mix. Still going side by side. Dankel using the full extent of the circuit, and Thomas O'Leary forces the initiative. This time he's got the inside for Palmer. He sends the move, and that might well be Thomas O'Leary fermented onto the podium.
Oh, Cal is really going to struggle to get these positions back. He just needs to hold on as long as he can. Agostini is now the next opportunity. Can he dive it down the inside? No, he can't. He's going to sit in behind. And this is now a 5-way battle for the final place on the podium. Actually, we've got Ryan Elliott having half a shout just in the background of this one as well. Of course, when you battle, you slow each other down. And amazing battles we are seeing here. As Kel goes wide once again, he did that on the previous lap. Cervic's going to catch up just a little bit more by a couple more tenths. And I reckon Cervic is going to be getting through in the not too distant future. He just needs to find the right place to go past. Maybe the next corner of Brundles is going to be the one.
Yeah, Dankel needs to be very, very careful. He's defended so hard and it's brought everyone in on the action. So he's got to be careful not to fall like a stone in water. Defensive into Brundle, and Sovic is looking to go to the right-hand side of the Ford Focus. He's a little bit squirmy with a rear-wheel drive, snaps the car back, is able to keep it under wraps, running on board with John Monroe in the bottom right of your screen. He's getting a good old view of Luke Mitchell in front. Brilliant racing, it must be said, between all of these cars involved, but I think it does stem from Dan Kell being a bit of a mobile chicane on those harder compound tyres, and with the success ballast as well. He is just sort of there trying to score as high as he possibly can, limit the damage more than anything, and that's very evident by the fact that Thomas O'Leary has completely dispatched this train.
1/4 of this race to go. Monroe coming to the outside along the front straight away. Mitchell to the inside to try and defend. We've actually seen a lot of side-by-side battles in towards this first corner. Monroe all the way around the outside. Does he have the grip to hold on to it? Yes, he does. Amazing move there by Monroe. Can he hold it on the brakes? As Cervic goes down the inside of Kell to cement that position. Mitchell comes back actually in towards the hairpin, so Monroe's position can't be completed. But that was certainly a great effort there through the first corner. Richie's just showing you how the grip and everything can work in your favour if you can find the racing line. But of course these cars don't have loads and loads of downforce, so you really sort of understeer a little bit if you push it a bit too much. Unfortunately, Monroe couldn't hold on to that one. Cervic a bit of a lock up, but I think he should be good to hold on because Kell doesn't seem to have any pace to come back with these guys.
Nah, he really doesn't. He's just unfortunately just not able to keep on top of things. Obviously, as I say, with the tyres and the success ballast, he naturally is going to be a little bit slower. It's almost a miracle that he is even in with a shout of the top 5. But then again, Richards also had pretty good pace in race 1 and able to fight his way into the top 10. So Dan Kelly's sort of got to live up to that expectation if he wants to bring the battle to Richards over the course of the season. This is the fight a little bit further back. This is between Nichols, Churgo and Haley Brewster, who are side by side going through Williams, and I think it was Brewster that was able to etch himself ahead. Oh, ran off the road though. Callum Wilson taken to the grass in an effort to work his way past Stephen Haley. Well, I have to say that was very, very aggressive. And now we've got the two same livery car, the two teammates going side by side. And, well, Callum Wilson just says, you know what, off you go, Cripps, because I think he's still a little bit shook by that. And, well, Haley's going to sort of what goes around comes around as already Cripps is on the attack.
Oh, and there's also going to be Wilson trying to get back from the car that just pushed him onto the grass, which is always a sight that we never like to see because cars can very easily crash when you have the grip differential from the left and right side of the cars. In towards that final corner though, Wilson doesn't decide to do anything silly just yet, but we are getting of course very close to that final lap. Just 2 laps to go here at Snetterton for race 2 of the evening, and it is going to be, it looks like, a Matt Richards victory unless Butcher can do anything to come back in the final couple of laps. Thomas O'Leary is going to be, of course, rounding out that podium as it stands. Morby DNF'd in that first race, trying to go around the outside of that first corner, side by side. I think he's got Mitchell Marm up the inside there, has to back out of that one. But P21 is still going to be places you want to fight for. It's a bit up the head. I think it's McGregor also trying to make some moves. So it just shows you, it doesn't matter what position you're in, you're going to be fighting for it as hard as you can.
That's what I love about sort of series like this and grids that are competitive like this. No matter who you are, no matter what your sort of skill level is relative to the guys at the front, you will have someone to fight with, whether it's obviously because of tyre choice or success palace or reverse grids or format or whatever it is. You will have someone that you can sort of get into the mix with and have fun with and aspire to achieve well. Monroe, though, is trying to aspire to have a bit more of a better bit of car control going his way through Williams, as he's eager to move his way past Dan Kell and maybe keep himself ahead of Luke Mitchell, who does look mightily quick just in behind that Kings Racing number 21 machine. He's looking to move his way past the Rocket Simsport car, who is, keeping him very honest as it stands through Coram and Dan Kell as it stands. He's got a little bit of breathing room, but, that remains to be seen as Matt Richards starts his final lap of Snetterton.
Certainly does, and it's been a great job from him from P8. He's going to be looking at taking that victory, which is going to be absolutely huge for him, of course, in terms of the points, and then a reverse grid coming the way for race 3 that we'll get to very shortly. But 1 lap to go here for the second race of the evening, and we still don't know a couple of these places. They need to be sorted out through turn 1 for the final time, and it's of course going to be Elliott getting involved with this battle. Mitchell's just gone backwards and backwards in this race, down the inside, dives Elliott, almost a bit of contact between the two. Yes, it is pushing them out wide. Elliott makes that move on Mitchell for what is currently P7. He's got Monroe and Kell up ahead, trying to hold on to their top 6 positions, but I wonder if they're going to swap around, because Danko is pretty slow up towards the front there of this this 4-way battle for this P5.
Yeah, it's been race long almost, and it's been a brilliant battle up and down. We had the lead fights, and Dan Kell doing his utmost to keep those behind. There is Matt Richards. He's got about a third of the lap left to go, give or take. He's now running his way through Williams, the Bentley straight for the final time. Chris Butcher's kept him honest, but I don't quite think honest enough. 2 seconds will be the gap, and Matt Richards will once again see the top step of the podium in the virtual of the VMO TCUK, powered by VCO, of course. Round 2 here at Snetterton, race 2 as well, and Matt Richards he's just been flying. His race 1 result was incredible, considering what was against him, the adversity he was against with the ballast and the tyre choice. Now almost everything seemed to be almost perfect for him. He darted his way through the field. Coram and Murray's left to go. The darts line, Matt Richards will take the victory.
Yeah, it's been an amazing race here for race 2 for the Richards Co racing driver, of course, basically driving for himself and driving off into the distance. 2 races won in Donington, and he checks the first one of the night here at Snetterton. Can he get a second one later on? We will find out, but race 2 goes the way of Matt Richards, followed by Chris Butcher. Thomas O'Leary will round out the podium, but this 4-way battle for the top 5, it looks like Dan Kell is just going to hold on. John Monroe, Ryan Elliott, and then Luke Mitchell follow in behind for your top 8. What a battle they've given us. It's been awesome to see the drives going up and down, and how the ballast and the tyre options affect everything. We get that is a Haley going slow towards the line, is it? Wilson gets back that place. Is that on purpose, maybe trying to give up that place, or was that just a slow exit? Either way, it's going to be Wilson there from the front row of the grid going down to P17. McGregor, Blumshine rounding up your top 20. And of course the final few drivers coming across the line. We have quite a few DNFs there, and it's going to be Downman, Morris, Spooner and Garside being some DNFs, so definitely showing it was a little bit of carnage there once again, Zach, but certainly quite entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. We weren't disappointed, and I think despite how good race 1 was, race 2 was a step forward. It was a step in the right direction. We had so much battling. Obviously, the initial carnage, once that settled down a little bit, we had a bit more rational overtaking, rational racing, and it was amazing to watch. Enjoyed every single second of those 12 laps, and we get to do it all over again for one more race here in race 3. The results will come up in just a moment to talk you through the official running order of race 2, but Matt Richards on top.
Yeah, number one car in the number one place, which is, very symbolic. 12 laps done. Richards takes the victory, followed by Butcher and O'Leary on your podium. Cervic and Kell, your pole position man, dropping down to P5. I think we'll actually be pretty happy with that one to only drop down to P5. Munro there in P6. Ryan Elliott, eventful race once again in P7. Luke Mitchell dropping down to P8. Hartley and Voznitsa rounding out your top 10. That was a nice, pretty calm race there from Nyan. Got up to P10 pretty much on that first lap and managed to hold on to it. Carl Benson and Ben Willis in your top 12. Churgwin, Cripps and Brewster giving us some great action there in the midfield for the final point. Jack Nichols just missing out on a point in P16 with Callum Wilson there from the front, dropping down to P17. Haley, McGregor and Blumshine rounding out your top 20, and this final page is unfortunately going to show a few DNFs that came along the way, just showing you how chaotic this race has been. Phil Morby there in P21, Scott Mitchell-Marm in P22. Anthony Hilton, Leppit and Locke rounding out your top 25, with London being your final car to finish the 12 laps. Garside, Spooner, Morris and Dowman all being your DNFs, but as ever, they will come back for race 3, Zach, which we do continue on with a bit of a reverse grid situation, which is always, a little bit of fun to spice it up.
Always is, yeah. It sort of gives those that maybe were a little bit slower or maybe a little bit more unlucky in race 2 to then sort of get back into the mix for here. And, well, we're about to find out which of the reverse grids we're going to get.
Yeah, so let's see which position. So it's the top X amount of drivers will get reversed, and it's going to be the top 6. So that's not many. So that is, of course, quite good for obviously the driver in P6. Unfortunately, the 6 drivers following do miss out on this occasion, but as ever, it is a random draw, and it is the top 6. The ballast remains from the finishing position. So in some way, this does help your driver of Matt Richards. So he'll be starting on the most ballast, but of course, will be down in that P6. But we'll just take a break for a couple of minutes while the race control get everything sorted for race 3, and then we'll be back for the reverse grid race here at Snetterton. Just one race left of the evening here at Snetterton for TCUK 2023, powered by VCO, of course. Myself, Cameron Roger, and Zach Sweeney have been bringing you through the very chaotic action in the first couple of races. And just to spice it up even more for race 3, we get a reverse grid. It's going to be the top 6. So, by my maths, that is Ryan Elliott will be starting on the pole position, but we'll get confirmation of that just when we get to the grid in a few moments' time. But Zach, it's certainly been some awesome battles and overtakes and crashes and carnage, cars up in the air. We've certainly had a bit of everything here at the round 2 of the season.
Yeah, indeed so. It's been amazing. I mean, race 1 started the second round off really well, started the even off really well. Race 2 was able somehow to top it, so race 3, if we're staying on that same trajectory, should be even better. I think the top 6 reverse, while it might be a little bit disappointing for those sort of in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, a bit disappointing for them that they can't benefit from it. But the 6 that we did have in the top 10, the Matt Richards, Dan Kell, etc, Thomas O'Leary, they are then going to be to they're all still going to be together in that front fight. A couple of people, well, I think all of them are now going to be sort of on the same compounded tyre, so I think it's going to be an out brawl for those top 6 in the mix, and also those that are a little bit just out of it still are there ready to pick up the pieces. So yeah, race 3, I think in terms of a lead fight, we're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, we certainly are not, and as ever, the tyre compounds and the weight ballast will be a big factor. Some of the drivers, of course, saving their options, the softer compounded tyres for this final race. Just trying to have a look through the list, see if there's any standout names that are going to be up towards the front. But I think all of the top drivers have already used it as you would expect to get the better results in the first few races. Yeah, it looks like pretty much everyone towards the front, I believe, will be starting on those prime tyres. So it's definitely going to be a bit more equal from that side of things. But as ever, 75 kilos ballast for Matt Richards there, starting in that 6th place, going all the way down. John Munro will take it from pole with Dan Kell, Scott Cervic and Thomas O'Leary rounding out your top 4. And then coming on to the next page, you'll see Butcher and Richards there, P1 and 2 from the previous race. So that's Ryan Elliott just missing out in that P7. Unfortunately, Luke Mitchell in P8. They had such a good battle last race. Let's see if that one continues. Hartley and Woznitzer inside your top 10. First time for Znitzer having some ballast in this series. Carl Benton and Ben Willis rounding out your top 12. Chugwin and Cripps inside the top 14 with Cam Brewster and Jack Nichols, who had such a good race 1 and 2, but unfortunately will be starting from P16 for this final race of the evening. Callum Wilson as well, slightly disappointing end to his day. Let's see if he can continue some good form that he showed. Haley McGregor and Blumshine rounding out your top 20. Morby and Mitchell Marm inside your top 22. Hilton and Leppett inside your top 24, who are giving us actually some nice battles as well. A bit lower down the field, just showing you every position matters in TCUK. Adam Locke, Jack London inside the top 26 with Garside and Spooner. And unfortunately had some DNFs this evening inside the top 28. And it's going to be Scott Morris, your final driver on the grid for this final race of the evening. Zach, what are you expecting with this reverse grid? Just top 6 might mean it's a little bit easier for those with the ballast.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see as we sort of indulge into the final 12 laps of the evening. Really looking forward to seeing how we get on. Dan Kell back into the mix. He's going to obviously have a slightly lighter car, but Monroe, Sovic and O'Leary all on the option tyre, all on the softer compounded tyre. They're going to be the ones mainly to look out for. And I have to say, it seemed as if O'Leary was on the soft tyre in race 2 because he was so quick. And now he gets to do it over the course of race 3. So I have to say, my bets are probably on O'Leary to maybe come out on top in this race because his pace is astonishing.
Yeah, that's actually going to be quite good as Cervic, actually, the updates. He has gone on to the prime. So it's just O'Leary and Munro at the front there on the options. Oh, that's going to give Munro such good opportunities. Of course, got less ballast than the 5 drivers behind him. And on the soft tyres, he already got pole position back at Donington, so we know he's fast in this group of drivers as well. As the drivers grid up, coming through the final corner there at Murray's in the background to have this final race of the evening for round 2 of TCUK for 2023. Powered by VCO, of course. Myself, Cam Roger, and Zach Sweeney bring you through the action for the final time here at Snetterton. It's been a great evening of racing. Let's finish it off with some fun and some action as Donington on the front row for the third time this evening is going to be hopefully a nice affair here for the final race starts of the evening. We've seen Kel get 2 starts that have been pretty good actually. So can Munro hold on to it? The lights come on, and when they go out, it'll be John Munro taking away, as it's going to be a pretty even start there for the top 3 drivers. Cervic coming in there, actually getting a bit of a run, as it's actually in the background now. It's going to be Butcher and O'Leary side by side coming into the first corner. Butcher there on the outside. He's actually just going to be missing out of that one as we trying to get this run with Matt Richards, as Munro also in the grass. Loads of things to focus on here. Coming into the Montreal hairpin for the first time. They all go wide with the cold brakes. Munro holds on to it, and Cervic there can't quite get the power down for P2.
Not quite able to, no, on that run in towards Palmer for the first time. Munro leading the way. Dan Kell and Cervic and O'Leary, the top 4 staying as they were in the opening moments. Ryan Elliott trying to pick his way through on Hartley as well. That run in towards Agostini. This is where we saw absolute chaos and carnage in the opening moments of race 2. We've got 2 wide, 2 deep, maybe on the fringes of 3 wide as well. Jan Vesnitzer into the mix, taking the very long way round. A spin on the inside though. Ryan Elliott goes round, so it seems that Vesnitzer was quite wise to go the long way round, but rejoining Ryan Elliott has caused a bit of an upset. Oh my word, Argy-bargy as they run their way in towards the left-hander.
Oh, the King's Racing Guard there goes for a spin. I think that's Nichols that's gone round. His teammate goes through up the inside in towards Oggies, and that's going to be Ryan Elliott now losing another place there. He's gone from bad to worse. Wilson already up inside top 15. He's had a nice start there. Side by side is Elliott's going to be losing another place. Mitchell Marm coming through as we've had Luke Mitchell, all 3 King's Racing cars in action. How has it gone round there? That must be right on the exit on the curb, and from the front he's going to be all the way to the back.
Yeah, unfortunate stuff for Mitchell in his pursuit of a good result in this race. Side by side, just ahead of Callum Cripps, that's Matt Richards and Churgwin. Richards not getting off to the best of starts in the opening moments of this race. Unfortunately, of course, for him, he's back up to full success ballast and back onto the harder compounder tyres. So he's not going to quite be as the rocket ship as he was in race 2, but still would expect something from Matt Richards. There's a bit of contact to Callum Cripps there from Willis. There's also Cam Brewster in the background. Everyone just so aggressive in the opening moments, but Richards, well, he was going to be hoping for more in this race, and Cripps is trying to make the most of it versus Churgwin in towards turn number 1 once more, side by side between the pair of them. Cripps has to go the long way round, but he's kept it pinned and has actually found himself up in the 9th place. Sensational move there from Callum.
Long does he hold on to though? He went onto the grass. I think he just... Oh, a car's in the background going off as well, as that is going to be Willis diving it down the inside of a Churgwin there for that P10, I believe that is. So loads of drivers trying to make these positions, as we've seen in the first 2 races. Didn't quite see who was around, unfortunately, at the back. It might have been Locke, because I think he's dropped down some places as well. But wow, crazy scenes in the opening lap and a half once again. The drivers just go for absolutely every opportunity because they know there's a rocket car there in the background, tries to dive down the inside. That's Bloomshine, doesn't make it work, as he's going to have, I think it's Brewster on the back of him as things start to calm down a little bit. Still dust there being kicked up as the drivers really push it to the limits. Awesome to see, but certainly some carnage can ensue.
Yeah, and that carnage is exactly what we are to expect. One of the BMWs going in a little bit deeper allows McGregor through, also at Brewster. So Churgwin having the best runs, unfortunately, on that run through the middle sector. At 2 of 12, and the chaos is absolutely not slowing down. Wilson versus Churgwin, they're on a bit of a drag race in towards Brundle. Outside line for the black and white at BMW as he tries to go the long way around. Callum Wilson, no way through for now. Tries to get the double up and under as they run their way through Nelson. Got to watch out for the sausage curb on the inside now through the bomb hole. Callum Wilson still has not quite got away through. There's a big slide there from Churgwin. Oh my word. The car control of these people today has been sensational. We've had some very scary moments from so many different people today.
Well, yeah, it just shows you how much they're pushing. That's all over the curb on the inside. Is that Brewster? Maybe it was. Brewster's gone round. I think it was on the outside now, the final corner. That's a bit of a shame. It's actually Willis, with the other black and red car has gone around, as he was having such a good start of this 3rd race of the evening. Wilson's actually got someone on his outside there. There's Mitchell Marms trying to make a move all the way around the outside of the first corner. He's managed to hold it, fair play, down it towards the braking zone. He got just ahead, but Wilson's later on the brakes, manages to come back on the apex of that corner. So wide, you can actually take quite a few different lines there. A bit of contact on the exit as well, as Mitchell Marm tries to hold up the inside of this one in towards Palmer's. He manages to do so, but Wilson's just going to squeeze in there to the apex, try and slow him down as much as possible, but they're still side by side for the third corner in a row, coming up towards Agostini. This is going to be a pretty important corner because they've got the cars coming in behind them as well. Mitchell Marm, he managed to make that position stick as Wilson goes back another place, and that was a long-awaited move, and he managed to complete it.
Yep, he's picked his way through just in front of that. That's Cherwin dipping a wheel into the grass, seeing that way too often at that particular corner. So everyone's got to be very, very careful through Hamilton, I think, just cutting the grass ever so slightly. But no harm, no foul. Everyone keeping their momentum, and, well, seen any major incidents as of yet. Phil Garside back in 16th place. He's looking to work his way past Stephen Haley for 15th and get that championship point to his name. We're already a quarter of the way through race number 3, and already we've not been disappointed in the amount of action, the sheer amount of action that we've been given in the opening quarter. Monroe, Kel, O'Leary, less than a second between each of those cars. Sovik and Butcher not too far behind either. But Jan Wisnitzer, on his debut in the series, he's really not waiting around at all. Bit of a slow start, but he's really turned it up for race 3.
Yeah, not the usual type of cars that we've seen in other series. Oh, that's a little bit wide though. Unfortunately, I think that's Garside is just going to be struggling a bit coming down the front straightaways. Also in the back, in the foreground, we've got some cars trying to go side by side as well. It's going to be Blumshine getting that run, maybe a bit of hybrid power, manages to get the car length ahead, holds onto it as they both slide the rear end coming into that first corner. But yeah, certainly some nice action continuing the way. Mitchell Martin continuing to get inside the action, just behind the battle that we were sawing with Brewster and Cherwin, I think swapping positions as well. So certainly some nice battles continuing. The places move around quite often. You've got to keep up with it.
Yeah, well, continuing on, the show must go on. Now on to lap 4. Jan Wisnitzer has got Butcher for company, and Butcher directly in front of that RHGP car. Oh my word! Was that Cripps? No, it was Hartley having an issue. I say an issue, a big issue there. Smacking into the bollard on the inside. Right, okay, that I think that caught us all by a bit of a surprise there. Big shame, it must be said. But a very unfortunate way to throw your race 3 away.
Yeah, it seems like the tyre walls on the inside of that corner are solid, as we found out the hard way, unfortunately. So, you'd hoped that he would have learnt that in practice, but maybe he just made a bit of a mistake, slid the rear that we've seen a few times coming through that corner. As Vizitz now trying to get up inside the top 5. He's got Butcher ahead, who of course is on way more ballast than him. Vizitz has been fast, gone to the outside though. Is that going to lose a position? No, manages to cut back. Coming for all that is though Butcher though making a bit of a wiggle on the brakes, and that's going to be a slow exit. Look at these 4 cars all coming for Butcher. He's had a slow exit out of that final corner. Vasitz is going to be going to the outside down this front straightaway, uses that hybrid power. He's going to get past. We're going to be coming to almost 3 wide in towards the first corner. Can Butcher hold on from any more of them? Yes, he does. You've got McGregor. Yeah, McGregor coming up the inside, manages to make at least 1 position stick on Cripps. Matt Richards is getting involved side by side in towards the braking zone. Richards holds on, but McGregor actually has to still work it for that position, but he's made it stick eventually. Somehow they're all somewhat in a reasonable order, but that was almost 5 cars going into turn 1 in the same place.
Brilliant racing, it must be said, and everyone keeping it within the limits of the track and not smashing into any bollards. Jan Wisnitzer in 5th place, but Butcher is keeping him honest. As you can see, the Rocket Sim Sport car just in behind a couple of places. Matt Richards in P7, and then McGregor just in behind that. Being very, very late on the brakes, everyone as committed as they possibly can be in their pursuit through Hamilton. They flick it to the left and on the brakes for Oggies. No changes between the entirety of this 5-car train. Jan Wisnitzer really is impressing in the final race of the evening. John Monroe, though, must be said, just under our nose, has been able to work his way 2.2 seconds clear of Dan Kell. I think about a few seconds clear of this fight that we're seeing. Thomas O'Leary is putting on a little bit of pressure for 2nd place, but, well, this fight here is absolutely sensational. McGregor and Richards go side by side in towards the chicane, and I think that's all been settled. Now this fight, Thomas O'Leary putting Dan Kell under a heap of pressure like he did in race 2.
Yeah, once again, O'Leary on the option tyres, and is looking good with the weight ballast compared to Dan Kell as well. So this is actually working his way quite. Not actually, no, it's not. You have more actually, because Dankel started ahead in the reverse. So actually, Dankel should be doing better, but I think it must just be the option tyres that is coming the way of O'Leary. Along the front straightaway, Kel defends hard to the right-hand side of the track, to the inside. That's going to put him slow on the apex of turn 1. Can O'Leary get his nose up the inside? No, he can't. Kel defends nicely, but as we get the run now down towards the Montreal hairpin to the outside, it's going to be for O'Leary. Goes a bit wide. He's going to try and get a bit of a cutback, but Kel blocks off nicely with a late apex and manages to hold on to that position. We saw Kel doing some pretty decent defensive driving in the previous race as well, but all this does is allow John Munro for Rocket Simsport go up the way, and he's probably going to be taking a very comfortable race victory for race number 3 here at Snetterton.
Yeah, unless he obviously makes a bit of a mistake, or O'Leary can dispatch of Dankel very, very quickly and somehow have a second burst of pace. Just look at that. It's all nice and calm at the front, and then you just see that incredible train behind Jan Snitzer all the way back to Churgwin in 10th place. Amazing stuff as O'Leary tries to get the overlap. He might well have his nose ahead in towards Williams. He's not quite there. Dankel able to swoop his way the long way around in that forward focus. He's a little bit wide though. He's a little bit hampered, and now the momentum swings once again towards Thomas O'Leary, who is eager to get himself up into second place. The space is there on the inside. He's not quite got the speed. This time he's going to go to the right hand side. It's the outsiders. They head their way onto the brakes. How brave can he be on the brakes? He's got the tyre advantage. Has he got the inside line advantage through Nelson? Continuing to go side by side. Dankel giving it everything to defend. Thomas O'Leary giving it everything to attack.
Oh, it's still side by side. This is great racing. They're giving each other enough racing room, and that means we're getting a nice clean battle all the way around the outside. That's going to be so difficult, but Kel's holding it in towards Murray's the whole way around the outside. He manages to make it stick, and still space given on the exit of the final corner. That's basically half a lap that they've been side by side. Cervic is getting closer and closer. It's basically a race of who wants to use more hybrid power down this front straightaway. Still side by side up towards the first corner once again. It's going to be O'Leary. He's going to go deep though. Kel's going to get the switchback coming up the inside towards Montreal corner once again. Kel holds it down the inside line, brakes later once again. He's going to keep it to that inside line, should have a better exit, although O'Leary actually some good pace on that outside. They continue to be side by side for another 3 or 4 corners.
Brilliant stuff. I think it is going to settle here at Palmer unless Dankel gets a supreme up and under. Look at that. Thomas O'Leary forced to go defensive, cuts the nose off like he did in race 2. Now Dankel to the right hand side into Agostini. Both late on the brakes, both as late as they can be on the brakes. In the bottom right as well, Callum Cripps trying to do something similar into the next left-hander. Thomas O'Leary able to hang on to second place with a brilliant defence. But Dankel is eager to at least put some form of a counter-attack on, even if he's got the disadvantage. You can see there Scott Sovic as well in the background trying to capitalise on this and maybe get himself onto the podium as well. But sensational racing. Thomas O'Leary with the advantage. Dankel just about got enough to hang in for now.
Awesome battle between those two drivers. That was best part of a lap, side by side, and space given, barely contact between them. That's what we like to see. But it's gone back to Cripps though, round the outside of Butcher in towards Brundles. He's using the hybrid. He's got the run on the outside as we go underneath the bridge. Does he have the speed to hold on to it? Almost a bit of contact, I think, between the two. In towards Nelson now. Butcher gives him the room all over the curb. It's going to be though for Cripps as we're going to get so who's that? McGregor coming in on the back of them. 3-way battle now through the bomb hole, and it's going to be getting closer once again through this massively long right-handed corner once again. This is where we saw Kel hold onto it. Don't often see that, but Cripps is going to be diving down the inside in towards Murray's. Goes too deep. McGregor comes past the pair of them on the exit of the corner. Amazing racecraft from him to see that coming. 5 laps to go here at Snetterton. Amazing battles.
To say the absolute least. Oh, contact! Oh my goodness me, Callum Cripps, Churgwin come together. Churgwin's still unsettled. He's taken Butcher with him as well, I think. Oh my goodness me, what on earth just happened? Butcher and Brewster go off. Churgwin is able to keep control of the car. Right, okay. I don't know how they've managed that, in all honesty. Brewster rejoins the circuit in 16th place. I think it was just one too swift of a defensive move, and it just sparked something in behind. People all over the place, and at those speeds, you're really at the top end of the car's speed range. I mean, at that point, the car is so susceptible, so vulnerable when it has a forced direction change. And, well, once you've got that instability, it's so difficult to catch it. And unfortunately, it's collected Brewster and Butcher in the final quarter of this race. And Well, that is a big shame to see things end, because that's the last thing you want to see.
Yeah, firstly, that was Cripps with the absolute send into Murray's, causing the carnage. Butcher then was slowed down as well. That allowed McGregor to go past. And then, Butcher obviously at some point got some contact on the rear. Of course, with these front-wheel drive cars, all the way, everything is on the front axle. The rear is just basically there for support, and it's rotating basically around the steering column effectively. So when you start getting the wobbles like that, it's so difficult to catch with the rear being so light, and of course with the force feedback coming through the wheel as well. That was definitely not an easy situation for Butcher. He held onto it for a good probably 2-3 seconds, but unfortunately just couldn't quite catch it in the end. Brewster being taken out in the process, which is a shame for them, as of course they are some of the top drivers in this championship. Brewster winning a race here last year, for instance, but not today. Blumshine there going too deep in towards Murray's, all over the curb, and that is going to allow London to come out. London has been down the way, 24th, 25th place through the first couple of races. He's now looking at a top 12 position, which he's going to make as Blumshine makes that mistake into the final corner.
Yeah, indeed so. So awesome stuff from London there to have a resurgence here in race 3. Ben Wills, being told, has had a bit of an off as well for the Drag Racing 85. He unfortunately finds himself now in P20, promoted as he works his way past Max Spooner, that is, in the Quartermass Motorsport Cooper Leon. And, well, Ben Willis inside the top 20, but not anywhere near where he would want to be. This is the fight that we were following just a moment ago. Queuing up behind London for P12, you've got Blumshine and Phil Garside still disputing over this place. And also Matt Richards, 1.2 seconds ahead. He's had an absolute stinker of a race there in 11th.
Yeah, he's gone back, of course, with the bigger ballast. And look how sort of close together the cars are up ahead. I don't know if he's had a further issue that we've seen off camera, but yeah, he's not going to be getting a victory in race 3 like we saw back at Donington. So it just shows you how things can change. However, at Donington, he didn't win race 2, so therefore he had less ballast. So it is weird how that ebbs and flows, and you have to actually work out where you want to have your fast races. Phil Garside now battling down this back straight. He's going to be getting past Blumshine as well. Blumshine losing another place, as we saw just a few corners ago. He's also got Ryan Elliott trying to come back, have a bit of a recovery drive just in behind as well. So yeah, these races and these championships can quickly turn on its head. You can so easily go from the front to the back.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what we love about that, the unpredictability of it, how quickly things can go wrong for some, and so it's forcing these drivers to constantly be alert, constantly being aware of their surroundings and making sure they can make those split-second decisions, because at the end of the day, that is exactly what it is. Tobias Blumshine on the back of Phil Garside. This is for 13th place. Looks to the left-hand side, using a little bit of his hybrid deployment, pauses the nose alongside. It's a long, long way round, though, through Richards, and on that occasion, it's not quite going to prevail for the 33 machine. Late on the brakes, though. What a send that would be. Contact into the Montreal hairpin. Just in behind, he's got Ryan Elliott, who might well be able to capitalise on all this. Wow, Blumshine just going for an absolute send of the century there, and well, very unsurprisingly, it failed.
Yeah, I wonder if Blumshine's just struggling the brakes a bit. We saw him go deep into Murray's a couple of laps ago, and then just struggling there as well. Obviously not fully confident in that machine. He did have a pretty strong performance out back at Donington, to be fair. The whole of that Rocket team did. They were always up towards the front in that race. Not quite so much today. It is going to be his teammate, though, John Munro, leading the way now by 4.5 seconds up towards the front of the field as they all go off onto the grass there. And that is not the nicest way to come into Oggies, to try and get back across to the left-hand side. Oh, Elliott spins up the rears. Unfortunately, we've seen that a couple of times so far this evening. And Elliott, once again, has a strong race car. He's got a strong pace beneath him, but just couldn't seem to string the races together tonight.
Unfortunately not. He's definitely had the potential. As you say, he's just not quite been able to extract it, unfortunately. But maybe there's more things to come from Ryan Elliott. I'm sure there's going to be more things to come from Ryan Elliott over the course of the season. Just because he's had one poor round does not define the entirety of his season. So we'll wait and see what he's got in store for us. But yeah, he would have definitely been asking for more come Snetterton, but he's got Thruxton in a couple of weeks' time. Maybe he can sort of start that road to recovery from there. Jack London on the back of Matt Richards. This is for P11. So Jack London, it seems, going from strength to strength with each lap that he takes in race 3.
He certainly is, and that is basically double places as well, which is great for him. As coming in towards turn one, Blue Machine is trying to continue the battle with Phil Garside, coming up towards now the Montreal hairpin. Oh, look at that, squeezing each other to the inside of the track. Addy managed to find some space up the inside somehow, all over the curb, I would expect. Now on the exit, as he comes out towards Palmer's, doesn't get the run that he would have wanted, as Garside manages to hold on to. In fact, for pretty much those drivers that we're seeing on the screen, London, Garside, Bloomshine, even Hilton in behind, they haven't had the best of days, but they are up inside the points for this final race as we are on lap 11, just one more to go, and there should be some points for the championship standings for these guys, as long as they don't make any little issues. Talking of Hilton, he goes a little bit of an interesting racing line there. Brewster catches up a bit coming through this middle sector.
Yeah, ever so slightly. This is for the final championship point. Let's not forget Cameron Brewster pushing as hard as he possibly can after the mistake, mishap, misfortune, whatever it was that bespoke the 39 machine. He's been fighting back from it ever since. Himself and Butcher were caught up in a bit of an incident, and Brewster might seem to be able to still salvage something from this race. Hilton, of course, is going to go defensive. He wants to retain that championship point if at all possible. Brewster not quite got the legs down the Bentley straight in order to see him ahead as they reach the chicane. Not long left to go in this race, so that's good news for Hilton, bad news for Brewster in that advance for the final point. John Monroe starts his final go around. He's just got shy of 3 miles left of this run at Snetterton. He's had a near on perfect race today.
I mean, you can't really complain in his situation into that final race. He got gifted the pole position thanks to the top 6 reverse, and he's actually making it work, although his teammate is trying to make something work himself. Up towards turn 1 for the final time, and then in towards Montreal. This is going to be his best overtaking opportunity on the lap, coming towards this hairpin corner. We've seen it a number of times, diving it down the inside. He manages finally to make a move stick. Loads of contact between the two. Argy-bargy, bollards going everywhere. That is not a clean overtake by any means, but still side by side. They're driving into each other. That is not good to see. And in the end, that is not the type of racing that we want to see in TCUK. A hot-headedness between the pair of them, driving into each other for a couple of corners in a row and then pushing each other off the straight. Garside in the end being spun around. I don't think they're going to want to watch the replay of that one.
Yeah, well, they both got what was coming to him. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, I suppose, in that regard. It was aggressive, but there was no need for things to go that far, to right-hand down each other on a straight in towards Palmer. That was so avoidable, but we'll not dwell on that too much. We'll let the stewards obviously dissect that and see what they think, what penalties need to be distributed. I would not want to be Aidan Millward after this evening, that's for sure. But on a more positive note, John Monroe has had a sensational last 12 laps, and he's looking to take his 5th win in the TCUK series, and, well, I think his first of the season as well. Through the final corner, the run to the line.
Yeah, he had a pole position in Donington, and he had pole position today for that final race, race number 3, and he's going to capitalise on that one and take victory for the final race of the evening for Rocket Sim Sports, the number 23 machine of John Monroe. It'll be Thomas O'Leary in 2nd place, Dan Kell rounding off the podium side by side towards the line. Cripps just misses out. McGregor gets that 6th place. Lovely battle between them. Voznitsa got ahead of them for P5 and Cervic in P4. Joe went down in P8. Mitchell Marm, after his chaos today, going to be P9. Wilson in P10. Are we going to be getting any more side by sides to the line? We've got a 4-5-way car train up towards the line. Bloomshine, after that crash, will be getting P15. Whether that stays that way, we will have to wait and see after the race. Ryan Elliott there, a couple of spins tonight, finishes his evening with a 16th place. A little bit lower down, we're getting Morris here for P22, coming up towards the line. I think he's potentially got his teammate just up ahead of him as well, as the two Geeks Energy, TR powered by Geeks Energy, coming across the line for some of the final positions. A little bit behind them, Garside actually eventually DNF'd from that crash that we saw a bit earlier, and Haley coming around. He was up in the air today, and unfortunately now he's back down on the ground and back down in P20, 3rd place. A lot of DNFs as well in this final race, and Zach, that was, to be honest, that's what we expected. A bit of everything, a bit of carnage, a bit of clean overtakes, and some crashes as well.
Among all 3 races, yeah, we pretty much ticked every single box there was to take. Apologies, I have just come down with the very sore case of hiccups, so fantastic when you're trying to talk about a chaotic race. But it's fine because Ewan O'Leary has done the exact same thing before, and he got away with it. So it's all good. Anyway, yeah, Snetterton TCUK today has been fantastic. It's been an awesome introduction to the series for myself, and I have thoroughly enjoyed every single second. It's been amazing.
And let's get the results of this final race of the evening. Third race gets taken by John Munro, and Thomas O'Leary, Dankel follow him on the podium. So Dankel having a very, very solid evening, I would say. To be honest, missing that first race, he's missed out on quite a few points, but he's gained a lot back today. Servik there in fourth place. Jan Voznitzer on debut gets a P5. He'll be happy with that one. Ross McGregor in P6. Cripps in P7, Churgwin, Mitchell Marm and Callum Wilson rounding out the top 10. Crazy to see Churgwin, Mitchell Marm and Wilson all having up and down days, but finishing it on a high at least. Jack London, P11 from P24. Congrats to him. That is a nice one. And Matt Richards, your championship leader, finishing the night with a P12. Just showing you the way that things can go when the ballast and the reverse grid race comes against you. Cam Brewster there in P13. Hilton just missing out on that one. Got overtaken there on the final lap. Blumshine in P15, Ryan Elliott, Benton, Willis, Butcher and Locke there in P20. Butcher, of course, having a bit of a crash on that main straight as well. Not quite sure what happened with him, but he definitely want to check that one out a bit later. Leppit and Morris rounding out not your final drivers on the 12th lap, because Garside DNF'd, but Haley didn't quite get ahead of him. At least a tie for P23 apparently, as Hartley there P25. Basically one lap down, unfortunately, doing only 11 laps. And then your 4 DNFs of Spooner, Mitchell, Nichols and Morby. And let's see if we can get some interviews from a couple of these drivers. I will try and see if we can get John Munro coming into the booth. Of course, John, you started the season very strong with a pole position back at Donington. Couldn't quite get exactly the results that you would have wanted. Difficult evening tonight initially, but how was that race 3 for you?
Yeah, race 3 was good. The whole thing really tonight was just damage limitation, because we didn't have great pace as a team. It was a bit of a tough one, but I'd kind of put all my eggs in the race 3 basket anyway by choosing the options for that one, because I didn't expect to have top 6 pace really this week. And as it transpired, it basically worked out exactly as I kind of hoped it would. So I was able to kind of stick onto the fringes of the top 8 and then get P6 in race 2, which obviously gave me the reverse grid pole. So it was just the perfect situation playing out in front of me, and then obviously I had the soft tyre, so it was a lot easier. And Dan was very polite at the start, just gave me lots of racing room, and yeah, once I managed to kind of get some clean air, the tyres did all the work for me. And I have to say well done to Thomas as well. I'm not sure if he was on the softs or the mediums, but he was flying at the end, and I was just managing the gap, but he had really good pace as well. So yeah, it was a good night.
And I wanted to ask you, how your feelings of obviously the format that we have here, because in many ways, like we saw Matt Richards there getting that win in the second race, but of course that meant he had all the ballast and the reverse position for race 3. So sometimes, do you think there's a little bit of tactics that might need to be played sometimes, or the race is too chaotic to try and work out which races you want to be good for the ballast later on?
I think you can preemptively do some tactics. I think you can choose what race to pick your soft tire on based on the factors, like I did today, obviously. And if you pick race 2 for a soft tire assault and to gain the positions, because you get more weight in the reverse grid, it's not really going to help you anyway. So I'd say before the race there's a lot of tactics, but when you're actually in the race itself, it's tricky, because no matter what position you're in, you kind of want to just optimize your points there and then, because obviously all you can control is the race you're in. So I wouldn't say there's too much tactics in the middle of the race. I'm always, if I can pick up an extra position, I'm not thinking about the fact that might cost me a grid slot for the next race. I'm just going for the position. So it's a little bit of both, but I love the format personally, to be honest. I think it's really good fun. That the weight and the way the reverse grid works, it keeps the whole evening exciting, and it means that you can have a really good start like I had at Donington with the 2 top 4s, and then a terrible race 3, and then tonight's kind of the opposite. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great format. We absolutely love the racing today. And what are your sort of expectations then later on in the season? Of course, 2 of the 10 rounds done now. Still a lot of races to go. But what are really your thoughts on how you can achieve what you can achieve this season?
I went into the season just hoping to pick up more wins and basically get a better championship position than last year. But sadly, because the race was cancelled last week and there's been a new rescheduled one, but the new date, unfortunately, I'm not going to make, and there's another round I won't make either. So I'm already know I'm doing a kind of 75% season, which is a shame. But honestly, I just want to keep on plugging away, finish as high as I can in the Drivers' Championship, and the main thing for me is the teams, just having fun with Ross and Toby and working our way forward. And I'm really hoping that we can fight for the teams' championship. It's going to be really, really tough to win, but if we're up there in the mix, maybe top 3, that would be fantastic.
Congratulations for your race 3 victory, and we'll hopefully see you next time as well.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
And next, we'll bring in Scott Servick, who had an amazing evening, really, of battles up and down many positions. Very chaotic there for the positions that you had to fight for. How was the battles for you?
I mean, I felt like I had a lot of good battles, especially in race 2 especially was just me trying to find my way through the field, really, on the softs. Race 1 as well definitely was a bit tighter than what I was expecting. For sure, or more tighter than I was wanting as well. I ended up getting a bit unlucky, but I mean, getting points in all three races and getting 4th places in each of the races as well. Yeah, I'm pleased. I am very pleased with that.
Yeah, that was a good job for you today. And what do you maybe taking a bit of momentum for this? What do you think you can do in the next couple of races? Do you think you can really fight for a race win?
I feel like, unfortunately, Brands Indy was one where, that'll be coming later in the season as well. So I think I've got a good opportunity there. Thruxton, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be there due to a conflicting schedule. But no, definitely the way that this car's felt for me, both at Donington and here, just like Snetterton's not a track that I feel particularly comfortable at. So to actually get 2 top 5s and in a row, even with that ballast in race 3 when it was just bogging down out of each corner, the momentum's definitely with me at the moment. So I'm looking forward now to the next couple of rounds to see exactly how much I can gain to how many points I can gain in the next few races.
Oh well, congrats, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
And last we'll bring in Knockhill. Of course, started the evening really strong with a pole position. Struggled a little bit, of course, with the ballast in that second race. But overall, how would you sum up your evening?
Oh, it's pretty incredible, really. I wasn't going in expecting much. I kind of realised after practice my race 1 would be decent, just with how much the weight affected people like Butcher, Richards, things like that. So I was kind of hoping to definitely challenge for the win. I didn't think I'd do it that easy in a way. My quali lap was pretty special. I basically just sat in the pit lane for half the session after that. I was like, yeah, that was a good lap. Then in the race, just made a good start and ran away with it. Race 2 was a little bit tricky with the weight, but again, it kind of fell into my hands on the first couple of laps. Managed to pull a gap while they were all fighting, which massively saved me. Otherwise, I would have been in the deep 10s easy. Race 3 just kind of boring, really. Just drove around. I was thinking I didn't really overtake anyone all night. It's quite boring.
Yeah, you did a lot of defensive driving. Was that something that you sort of had to not necessarily practice, but sort of like get ready for, knowing that you were going to be struggling because you had a lot of cars behind you? There's a lot of pressure to withstand.
Yeah, I knew instantly in race 2 I'm going to have to get the white line out. And it kind of worked, and yeah, definitely. If I didn't defend, I would have been absolutely knackered. It was quite good fun because usually with these, you're always attacking and defending, but it was actually a bit of a change, just fully focused on defending for once. It was quite good. I learned a few things as well. It's always good fun to learn.
All right, so obviously you missed round 1, so hopefully that's some nice points back, maybe a championship fight coming your way. But yeah, we'll let you go. Congratulations for tonight, and we'll wish you luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yes, Zach, that is 2 rounds done out of the 10 for this season. What track do you think that's coming up is going to be really causing us some good action once again?
All of them, absolutely each and every single one of them. I think Thruxton in a couple of weeks' time, obviously one of the fastest circuits in the UK. Really looking forward to that. Oulton Park is going to be a brilliant circuit. Again, all of them. We have so much to say about each and every single one of them. They all have their own quirks, their own specialties, and I am really looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season develops. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll take to Thruxton, and well, I think that one is going to be interesting with the slipstream and the hybrid deployment and things like that being as quick as it is. So yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. We enjoyed that one. And that was round 2 of the TCUK 2023 powered by VCO. Myself, Cam Roger, and Zach Sweeney in the commentary booth. We've enjoyed this one, but we have to wait 2 more weeks before we get to the fast and flowing Thruxton. We thank you for watching. But until next time, we wish you a very warm goodbye.